the medicine showed me I need to tell her the truth, right? And I was like, "Holy shit, I can't believe I'm about to do this." So, I'm, like, in the medicine still, it's during the retreat, like, we had a ceremony that night, about to drink the medicine again the next night, and I'd sit down next to her, and I break out into a fever, and I break out into a sweat, and I start telling her all the lies over the past 7 years, every single woman I cheated on her with, everything I ever lied to her about. It took me a couple years to get it all out, maybe like a full year or 2, because your mind hides things from you.
Welcome to The Deep Coach, the podcast where we explore the transformational journeys that shape us and that propel us to change the world. I'm your host, Jonathan Edmida, and in each episode, we sit down with those who have journeyed into the depths of spiritual transformation and who are now reshaping the world through their presence and their work. In listening to these incredible individuals, you'll find insight, inspiration, and practical tools that'll support your journey as a coach and as a human being. Today, I'm joined by Michael Vasconez, a former Marine turned deep healer, teacher, and transformational coach. Michael's story is absolutely incredible, and I'm excited for you to listen to it. It's one of deep vulnerability, of transformation, of radical awakening. From war to addiction to deep personal healing and reconciliation, Michael's story is an absolute masterclass in what it means to fall apart and to find your way home. What started as a path of pain and self-destruction in the military ultimately led Michael to plant medicine, spiritual awakening, and a complete life reset. He speaks vulnerably about the healing of his marriage, his physical detox from years of toxic exposure, and the spiritual guidance that led him back to himself. Today, Michael supports others on their healing journeys, blending coaching, physical detoxes, relationship coaching, and other healing modalities. His story is proof that no matter how far we fall, there's always a way back if we're willing to do the work. This is a powerful episode. So without further ado, let's dive right in. You have a line in your website.
Mhm.
I am a man who was lost in pain, destruction, and confusion, but by divine guidance was able to become whole again. Can you describe the man that you were in that pain a little bit?
Yeah, I guess the best way, uh, to describe it, I was just totally disconnected from who I really was. Um, as we live life, through this human experience, sometimes we have experiences in our life that kind of fragment us. And I think most people, they live their life fragmented. They don't even know that they're fragmented. And the more fragmented you become, the more unwhole you become. So you start living a life of unwholeness, and then the choices replicate that unwholeness. And then you get even farther away from kind of your center, from who you really are. And that was me. I was just completely fragmented in all sorts of different directions. So every single choice I was making over like a 10-year period of my life just sent me into a complete path of self-destruction in kind of all areas. And then I just kind of was 100% divinely guided back into piecing myself back together. And I had to rebuild my life at 27, 28 years old. Took a solid 5 or 6 years to kind of to really understand what was happening. And I'm just now, my wife and I were just now coming out the other end of it, but it was a wild ride. So I was just torn apart. And I didn't really realize it. So yeah, it was totally by divine guidance.
And part of you being torn apart, you made the decision to go into the military. Can you describe that decision?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I was torn apart before I went into the military. And then I pretty much had no idea what I was going to do with my life. So I made the decision to join. Actually, there's like kind of like a common thread with a lot of guys that go and do the line of work that I do. Um, I had no idea any directions. I was pretty much living at the bottom of a bottle. I was lost in many different things. So I was like, hey, if I have no value for my life at the moment, why don't I just go join the Marine Corps and see what that has to offer. So it was just a lot of pain and suffering that I was in. And then I just went and found more of it. Except when I stepped into the military, it was just like this massive distraction from really the reason that I went in to begin with. So, and then I just found more unhealthy, completely different side of life that most people never get to experience, which I hope many people don't have to experience that. But, like the essence of war, the essence of like being programmed the way that we were, it's difficult to come back to become whole again after going through that. So I kind of joined under a rough pretense to begin with, and then I just kind of found a lot more experiences and a lot more deprogramming. So I had even deeper work to do when I left the military and came back into the world.
So you would say you got more wound up and went deeper into sort of the pain rabbit hole as a result of being in the military.
Yeah, I mean, I was in the infantry. Um, we have a job to do, and just becoming an infantryman is itself kind of something that it's hard to describe, but they pretty much, they break you down. They take all thought of personality and essence out of your body. But I'm very grateful because I wouldn't have been able to survive the environment that I was in without, going through what we had to go through. And then, living through kind of what we had to go through over there. It's most guys, I don't think they want to take it as far as I took it to find myself where I am today. But it took a lot of work to get to where I was because you just realize how far and disconnected you really were. It's a very you have to rip that part of humanity away from yourself in order to commit and go and you know do the things that we had to do. So um yeah, it just brings you deeper into that, and some guys are okay with living in that space. I just, for some reason, I just found myself just diving deeper the other direction once I found, that I wanted to heal, and I just really just focused on it. It was like the biggest focus of my life, you know um which brought me to where I am today. And I talked about it in the introduction a little bit, but a part of all that was finding, plant medicine and all of that, and that's really what ignited me. I wouldn't be where I am today without it. So um yeah, it's kind of, it was just a wild ride altogether.
Yeah, I can't even imagine the things you saw, experienced firsthand. It's brutal. And so what was the catalyzing moment, the catalyzing event that sort of awoke you to a different way of living, or at least the inkling that there was a different way of living and being?
It's when I drank ayahuasca, 100%. Without that medicine, I say it all the time, the medicine saved my life. Without it, I literally would not be here. It was the only thing that was able to crack me deep enough for me to look at myself. Uh, you know, I was like looking for it far and wide for a really, really long time. And I was like, does this go against my belief system? I don't even know what that means anymore. But I was like, is this right? Is this wrong? Like, because I watched a documentary on it, and so I just couldn't get it out of my head. And then finally I committed to doing it. And I found the right man. I found a true doctor of ayahuasca from the jungle of Colombia, and I've been working with him for 9 years now. And when I drank his medicine, it cracked me open so bad. It was one of the hardest nights of my entire life. But I just looked at, like, it just was like me, me. Like, I was like looking at myself, and I was like, "What the am I doing?" Um, and then when I came out of the experience, I was just like, "Okay, well, I am so far beyond messed up than I ever thought." And then from there, it's just really about changing your life around and releasing that energy out of your body, allowing yourself to change, be open to change, and just really letting the flow take you.
Yeah, I want to double click into that experience in a moment. I still want to figure out, because for you to even land on ayahuasca means you were asking yourself questions you began seeking prior to that.
Yeah,
So
I've
what
always
what
been curious. I've always been a curious individual. Um, the curiosity is an energy that I've learned in my life that like really needs to be tamed because it can really unground you. And so I was a very ungrounded person too. Everything I did was like all or nothing. You know, I never was able to like test things and like contemplate and like diagnose. It was always just like all in, all out, like all the time. If I would drink to black out. If I would smoke to like I can't even like function anymore. Um, when I would fight, I'd fight to the point where like, I was like hurt. It was like everything was all or nothing. So uh so I came across just a documentary. It literally just like came into my life and I was just curious and I read a book on it and watched a documentary on it and I guess that word seeking, I've always been that way. Been I've always questioned authority way more than the average person. Now I've learned how to do it in a very respectful way, but growing up, I wasn't respectful about it. But once respect found me in life, I've learned how to properly question things. But in the beginning, when we're younger, we don't really have that art or skill to be able to do that. So I've always been a seeker. I always have questioned everything that's ever been brought to me, tested to me, whatever belief system was imprinted on me. I would always question. And if somebody didn't like me, I would kind of piss them off on purpose and ask them questions to really annoy them. Kind of growing up, that was like my rebelness, so to speak. It was just like I would ask and ask and ask to try to like figure something out. I didn't even know what I was trying to figure out. Um, so yeah, that's how I've always been that. I've always wanted to look behind the closed doors, and I found it. And that's one of the biggest things that I think I'm finally able to say is like my curiosity is really, really tamed. I'm not so curious anymore. I kind of am, but I'm able to like keep it on a leash. It doesn't like kick me out of my path, so to speak. I don't waste so much time on it. It can be a very draining thing being curious all the time because you never just feel complete. But so it's still there, but it's way different than it used to be.
Mm, mm. So you've always been a seeker, and you mentioned that the seeking initially led you down some self-destructive paths, and in terms of perhaps seeking ways to avoid, seeking ways to non-conform. Was it the film? Was it the book that then honed your seeking in a more personal development sort of direction? What was that sort of thing that sort of sparked you to jump
Uh,
tracks?
it was like an energy thing. I mean, when it comes to the medicine, like a lot of people's, it's like a calling. Like it's like literally there's a microphone in your head and you just can't turn it off. And I had it like once I heard the name of the entheogen ayahuasca, like once I heard that word, I just couldn't get out of my head. Like no matter what I tried to get it out of my head for 2 years. Many people hear the word and they're not interested in it. They're like, "Oh, that's not for me." But a lot of people will find their way to it like they're called. Like so it was a total calling. Like I don't know what it was, but I just couldn't get it out of my head. I mean, I was doing the yoga thing, I was doing the meditation thing, I was trying to quit. I was slowly climbing out of some stuff, but like deep beneath, I still was totally messed up. I mean, I was in the middle of like my marriage was a mess, my life was a mess, my body was so sick and filled with filth. It was disgusting. Um, the stuff that I purged out of my body and detoxed out of my body is wild. I have people don't even believe it until I show them pictures. Like I have it all documented. But, because that's another thing I help people do. So I'm not just weird taking pictures of that stuff, but I help people detox. Um, so yeah, it was just a total calling. Like once something inside of me kinda turned on, I just couldn't turn it off. Like I just had to keep going.
Yeah, I'm actually just I'm still trying to find that genesis, because you mentioned prior to the ayahuasca was an activating word that led you to truly heal, but you also were into yoga and meditation. So at what point did you actually start engaging in these sort of practices that began to shift your mindset from self-destruction, from drinking till you blacked out, smoking till you couldn't move?
I just started to like, I remember drinking, and then I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was, like, dry heaving, and, I was like, "I got a problem," you know? Like, I'll never forget that. I just was, like, dry heaving for no reason, just sweating. I thought I was gonna die, um, and I was like, "I'm drinking too much," you know? Um, then I was pretty heavy into cannabis that helped me let go of the drinking so much. I mean, I was just like, could never be sober, like being sober was difficult for me. So, but using cannabis was a lot healthier in that moment and than the drinking. But I just slowly like tried my best to like move away from it, move away. I mean, my body told me like you can't drink anymore, like you're gonna go into liver failure. So I knew something was wrong there. So then slowly, like I was really deep into martial arts, studying jujitsu. That helped me. That was like a healthy thing, although it was destroying my body, but it was still like it was something for me to focus my energy on. And yeah, slowly I just kind of was like living life and like trying to just be like a civilian again. Took me a little bit of time to just like see what this is all about. I couldn't go to things. The public was very difficult for me to be in. I wasn't really able to be like I remember like wanting to go to a tattoo convention with my friend and like I was on my way there and I just had to turn around. I couldn't even fathom like getting on a train, going into the city at a tattoo convention. Like I was like, there's just no way I can do that. So that kind of stuff happened to me a lot. And I just really went into like a hibernation mode. The beautiful house that my family gave me to live in. So I just kind of like just hung out with my dog. My wife was like my saving grace. People don't understand how hard it is for to be married to a guy like me, and there's a lot of women out there that are, and you just have no idea how difficult it is because not only are we disconnected, but we're disconnected in a way that like I mean, there's really no hope. Women in their head, they just feel like it can be very hopeless to be with a guy like in that space. So she was putting up with a lot of stuff. And I just was, like, getting by in life. I was, I was, like, this close. I almost became, law enforcement. I was very, very close. That was, like, the only place that I found, like, I could do. I was very good at the job. I mean, I was gonna get onto the tactical units and all that kinda stuff, and, yeah, when I had that change in my life, I literally was going left hard, and I just did a complete 180, went right. So, yeah, it was just kind of Kinda just the essence of who I was, just kinda poking around at the universe, and I just started to get healthy. I just had a desire to wanna take care of my body, wanted to slowly start to eat better. It just was like a slow progression, until I got cracked open.
Yeah. Tell me more about that experience of getting cracked open, that dark night of the soul of sorts in your ayahuasca experience.
Um, so the medicine teaches you in, like, many different ways. Everyone gets taught something, a little different depending on their circumstance as a human being. But really, one of like the blanket energies that the medicine opens you up into is it connects you in with the earth more. So you start to heal with our planet. You start to feel more connected to everything around you. So that started to happen for me. I started to like find unity again. I didn't feel so like disconnected, which was healing. But really what it did, the first thing the medicine showed me was to heal my marriage. That was like the first thing the medicine showed me. I was divorced at the time. I was about to marry another woman from another country, and in like 5 days, and I went to a retreat, and he told me to bring my wife, and I thought he was crazy, and I'm like, "What do you mean, the woman I'm about to marry?" And he goes, "No, bring your wife, like your wife." And because I drank the medicine with him, his name's Taita Pedro. I drank with him before, and so he kind of knew my process, and he's like, "Do you trust me?" So I brought her. Randomly, she decided to come. We weren't even talking at the time. She picked her phone up, decided to come. And the medicine showed us I'm supposed to be with her. The medicine showed her she's supposed to be with me. And then it showed us all the stuff we had to do to heal, which was completely wild. I've never, in my entire life so far, 37 years old on the planet, I've never come across a couple that have stayed together through after what we went through. And it was only from, I don't know if it would be possible um, to make it without, that beautiful medicine, because it took us 3 years of working with the medicine to truly heal our relationship. I mean, I had like other wives. It was wild, man. It was like, it was a wild ride. So I was so gone. I had no idea what I was really doing to my life. So yeah, when the medicine showed me like that was the pinnacle, like it showed me like you heal your marriage, your entire life is going to heal. So it just gave me like this beacon of light in my life to focus on. And when my mind wanted to wander and go do this other stuff, I just would remember, just forget everything else. All your curiosity doesn't matter anymore. Just focus on your beacon of light, which is my two little dogs, which is um the medicine even showed me like what the dogs are is a part of our relationship. So I just focused on that beacon of light, and it completely healed my entire life. And for the past 7 years, I've just literally been focusing on that beacon of light, and like the outer rings of my life, my body, my soul, my spirit, all of that has been healing. Um, and she's pretty much been doing the same thing. So that was like the greatest thing that it ever did for me. It just kind of illuminated my path and made it very simple for me.
Yeah. Incredible, man. Incredible the grace that life has, and how it shows up in different ways. And because the journey is destructive, can be destructive. It is destructive to our old way of being, our old identities, the things that we're holding on to.
Yeah.
And you were confronted with that destruction during that ceremony and had the opportunity to rebuild. And the rare opportunity to rebuild with someone, which is not only rare but extremely difficult, because it requires the same level of commitment and intention from that other person, which isn't always there.
Yeah. Very true. Definitely. The I would say she's ride or die, because she went in just as deep as I did. I mean, we don't really talk about how deep like it really took us. Most people, it took us so deep. I mean, we became completely fragmented. I mean, it literally just put us off into pieces, and just for a couple years, we had to like put ourselves back together. It made us question every single aspect of our being. It
Mm.
was not easy, but if we didn't go that deep, we would definitely wouldn't have been able to make it. So,
Yeah. What did that look like in practice? I imagine there were things that each of you were doing solo, and then there were things that would bring you guys together to heal together. How did that generally look?
um, so the first thing that happened was the medicine showed me I need to tell her the truth, right? And I was like, "Holy shit. I can't believe I'm about to do this." So, I'm, like, in the medicine still. It's during the retreat, like, we had a ceremony that night, about to drink the medicine again the next night, and I'd sit down next to her, and I break out into a fever, and I break out into a sweat, and I start telling her all the lies over the past 7 years, every single woman I cheated on her with, everything I ever lied to her about. It took me a couple years to get it all out, maybe like a full year or 2, because your mind hides things from you. Your mind will literally take a lie, put it into a box, and bury it inside your subconscious, so you don't even think about it anymore, but it's there. So slowly, all these lies and distorted truths that I had shown her was coming to the surface. And as I started to tell her, I broke out into a flu. Literally, I was detoxing all the lies of like my spirit. My nose started running. I broke out into a fever. I sweat through like I wrapped myself up in sleeping bags and I started shaking. Um and and I sweat through literally like sleeping bags, like they were soaked. And and I just was telling her all the lies, and she just was like sitting there, just like taking it. I mean, it was wild. And then I just remember, that was, like, the first thing we had to get through, and then that night, she had to decide if she still wanted to be with me. So then, like, that was her process. Then when she drank the medicine that night, her process was her deciding, um, if she wanted to stay with me, which she decided, okay, like, yes, we're gonna be together. Um, and I just continued like detoxing. And then over the next 6 months to a year, I focused on telling her the truth about everything. Like, I would be like literally like sitting outside watching the sunset, and all of a sudden I get punched in the face and I remember something. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't tell her that. I need to go inside and tell her that. And she'll literally just be like making dinner and I'd be like, babe, I have to tell you something. You're not gonna like it. And she's like, just go for it. And I would tell her, and she'd be like, and then she would have to heal from hearing that. And I would just go, sulk in the corner, and we would just it was like that for a solid year, maybe. But that was the first thing that had to happen was 100% honesty, 100% truth had to be laid out on the table to where like literally to the bottom of my soul, like there's nothing I was hiding from her. Um, that was like the first step for us to find union again. And then we lived in the same household, not as husband and wife, but as friends for like 2 years. We became friends first. I was shown that I was shown how we had to build trust again. So then we had to build trust, and the trust came before the relationship. So then we just became friends. And that was a wild ride. It was actually a really cool experience. Intimacy was beyond the physical. The intimacy started energetically first, and then we got married again, like 3 years ago. It was a very special blessing. But that's when we let go of the past and clicked into the present moment, and that's really when our future started to be created. So it was quite a ride.
I mean, that's just unbelievable on so many levels because the degree of courage, conviction, trust. I mean, there's so many things on both your parts to go through that process of her receiving your lies and you sharing your lies, and to be committed to the process of cleansing is, man, that's not it's not the norm. What do you think it was inside of both of you that was so committed to this process?
I th- I mean, honestly, that's why she's like the strongest person that I know in my life, and I tell people that because she gave me a second chance. Like like some women give their men a second chance, but like they always kind of hold it there. Like it's not in our relationship anymore. She was able to move beyond the guilt and the pride and all of that and completely shed it. I don't know how she did it. The second chance was like a real true second chance, like in all aspects of life. Um, but I would say on my end, I just knew I was going to be able to wash away all the pain that I caused her when I became the man that she would rather be with, having to go through all that to get him, as opposed to just having somebody that she didn't have to go all that with. And like, I had to become a person that she would choose again to go through all that with to get to that guy. Like, I knew once I became that guy, that's when everything else was going to be washed away. Because we talk about it all the time. Like, people talk about a TV show they watch. We talk about the past. We talk about shit from the past because we're still learning from it and evolving from it and understanding it on deeper levels. As your consciousness grows, your perception on it grows, and then you can see things from a different angle. So we're constantly learning, almost looking back on like our old selves. And as for her, I just think that she was able to just see me beyond all of that. Really when she first met me. Um, because we were only together for about 2 or 3 weeks before something happened in my life that's when it all started for me. Like that's when I was lost. So I think she just was able to when she first met me, she just was able to like see that. And she just was able to hold on to that for 8 years. Um, and I mean, I took her to the point of no return. Like, I mean, it was like within like a half a day of her truly walking away, for good, because once she found her power, you know, once a woman is enlightened to who she really is and the power inside of her, she doesn't need a guy anymore. You know, so once she clicked into that, she pretty much put an ultimatum out there with the universe, without me knowing. She drew a line in the sand and was like, if he crosses that again, that's it. That's good. I'm done. And literally, I walked. It's funny. I literally walked right up to the line. I didn't even know it, and I just turned around for some reason. And I walked backwards. I'm like, I'm not going there anymore. And it was like my last chance. Um, and somehow we're here now. And the greatest thing in the world happened to me. We're trying to have a kid right now. Like, I never thought I'd want to have a kid. That was one thing that my heart opened up into. For 29, 30 years of my life, like, I was like, nope, not for me. And then a couple years ago, I knew I was going to have one, and now it's just time to do it. So yeah, now we're taking that step, which is a wild ride in itself.
It is. It is from firsthand experience. It's an incredible journey. And the
Yeah.
journey you've been on is quite incredible. So you were healing and cleansing on a psychological, emotional, spiritual level. And knowing you, you were also healing on a physical level. So you engaged in certain practices that helped you to detox in certain ways. Can you talk a little bit about how that started and what that process was like?
Yeah, sure. So I was exposed to insane amounts of heavy metals. I had lead poisoning. I was overly vaccinated. Um, I was exposed to just some crazy stuff. Like, there were burn pits on our bases overseas. And burn pits are essentially poison. Like, they just burn batteries, gasoline, plastics, like everything. They just burn it, and then we're sleeping in huts, like, and the wind is just blowing. So it's a whole thing. And I don't want to, all the all the conspiracy theory and politics. None of that matters. But I just was exposed to a lot of stuff. So I started researching how to clean my body out on a physical level, and I became very interested because it was like I was finding secrets to life that, like, were hidden from us. So when I started to find all the little secrets, of course, like, that was like my curiosity. I was like, "Oh man, this is like a positive thing." Like, I found all this stuff that literally has been hidden from the average person on how to clean your body out. And also what we're doing on a regular basis is said to be good for us that isn't. So we shifted our physical lifestyle around. I started cleaning my body of the parasites, the heavy metals. I started to research a guy. His name's Dr. Bernard Jensen. Dr. Group talks about it. Deep, deep bowel cleansing and cleaning the colon. And this is not just a physical thing. This is like an esoteric spiritual practice that you enter into. I mean, I was removing stuff inside of my body that has been there for 10 years. And when that stuff leaves your body, it literally is like a spiritual experience when it leaves your body. Um, so when you start to communicate with your body, the body has to learn to trust you, because what you're doing to it is very counterintuitive to the natural workings of the body. Like, we take food in this end, it comes out the other end, and like, but you start doing like little hacks and tricks to the body to trick it, but the body has to know that you're doing it out of love, and it will release some really nasty stuff. So I messed around with fasting, experimented with fasting, different types of eating. Um, I know you're from Florida. I went and studied down at the Hippocrates Health Institute, which they taught me immense, immense knowledge on. I mean, their protocols really, really helped me. We cleaned up our diet, we cleaned up our air, our water. I mean, like, everything that we put into our body, we are conscious of. And I mean, I just started to slowly um, heal from like the inside out, and I was working from the outside in at kind of the same time. And um, Yeah, I mean, special foods and protocols and micronutrient testing and like all this stuff to just slowly bring your system back online.
Yeah. When did you start feeling different?
Uh, well, when I was I would say about 25 years old, I got really sick in the military. Very, very, very sick. And then when I came home, I got even sicker. I literally was sleeping for like 20 hours a day. No doctor could figure out what was wrong with me. And it's not even that uncommon for people to be in that situation. I mean, I just was like so tired, so sick, so mentally messed up, um, that no one really could help me. So when I started to find my own answers through stuff, and then if it worked for me and made me feel better, I just doubled it up and I did it again, and then I did it again, and then if that didn't work, I would not stop doing that. So it was like a little Easter egg hunt for a while, but I started to climb out of it, after a couple years of detoxing, um, and the lead poisoning that I had. I mean, my lead levels were literally off the chart. Um, I was fortunate enough and blessed enough. I had family help me. They helped me go to Switzerland, and I had a special treatment called inospheresis. And that inospheresis treatment is where they take a ton of blood out of your body. It goes through a special filter and will be put back in your body. It's not available in the United States, but Switzerland, Spain, Germany, it will detox your body to levels that nothing else on the planet can do. And I literally felt my brain start to like turn back on. Like I felt like, oh my gosh, this is what normal people feel like. Um, I was like I could breathe again. Like my brain was able to breathe. And then I had a bag of orange goo that it took out of my body by the time I was done the treatment. So I was over in Switzerland. That really helped me. It took a while to recover from that because it was a hard process. It was hard on the body, but my body has been rebooting, which is why we moved to Florida to for my health essentially, and my wife wanted to come down here too. But so that was a gift from the creator to be able to go do that because most people never even heard of that. I just found that through my own research, and I hopefully it comes to the United States one day. But that was a big thing, and slowly but surely, I've been just kinda climbing out of it, and it's been 7 or 8 years of it, but, I'm finding I'm s I'm still working at it. I'm still not where probably the average person is. I have to live a certain way to protect myself, but in the same way, it makes me become a better person.
And why is that you have to live a certain way to protect yourself? What are you protecting yourself from?
I'm just very sensitive. My body is very sensitive, like, I have to be very careful what I eat, far beyond more of what the average person. Um like, if there's a scented candle inside of a house and you invite me over, I'll leave. Like, because I'm so sensitive that, like, I can't take a toxic load like the average person. So I have to just like I have like lines in the sand that I just can't cross. Um, my body needs more rest than the average person. Like I need to sleep more. I don't really have as much energy as some people do. So I just have to live a very like patient, purposeful life with intention. Because if I get into that go, go, go grind mode, like hooking and jabbing, like some people live, I crash. My body's energy just quite take it. So I live in a certain flow, and I'm just very like that divine guidance that's led me here. It's also allowed me to create a life to where I can sustain myself and live a certain way, to take care of my body, you know?
Yeah.
So traveling's very hard on me. It takes a lot out of my energy. I can't eat food that most people eat. It just makes me sick. It takes me days to get over it. Um, so, and that's just from all the toxic load that I was in. Once you have lead poisoning and toxic heavy metal poisoning, I mean, I had the anthrax shot, I had the smallpox shot, I had all that stuff. You have to be very careful not to put any more toxic load into your system.
Yeah. Wow. Incredible. How long were you on this path of healing, self discovery before you had the desire to give back and to want to create the business that you ended up creating and then offer services?
I've always loved to teach what I learned ever since I was a kid. Like, as soon as I learn something, I want to just turn around and teach it. So, growing up, I was deeply into martial arts, boxing, jujitsu, Muay Thai. I used to fight, used to compete. As soon as I would learn something, so I became an instructor. I would teach jujitsu, I would teach boxing. So I've always been a coach in that aspect. And then as soon as I started learning the detox, I immediately reached out to all my friends in the military. I was like, guys, I got to teach you what I'm learning. And of course, most of them think you're nuts and they're like, nah, dude, it's not for me. I'm like, okay, just hear me out. Um, Once I became a life coach is when I learned how to really communicate and really learn how to like present myself in that space and connect with people or very authentically. But before that, I was doing everything I could all the time. Like I learned how to grow sprouts and special juices and tonics, and I learned a lot of stuff from Hippocrates. I became a coach with them. Immediately, I started promoting myself in my area. I was teaching workshops. I was teaching classes. I would go to different cafes. I was even hosting workshops at my house. I just loved teaching whatever benefited me. I've always been that guy, and so I've always had that desire to do it.
Mm. Since you've been so deeply immersed in this healing world and in different modalities, on the sort of nutrition, environmental toxins, sort of physical body front, what are some sort of three things that somebody can do to optimize their health? What are like three easy sort of tips that you might give someone here?
The first thing is to get your dental mouth fixed biologically. It's the first place to start. If you have root canals, the root canals are a fallacy. You want to get the tooth pulled because the root canal is causing you like a 99% chance it's causing a systemic infection in your body. Even if you're not sick, when you get older and your immune system gets a little bit worn down, it can cause problems. So you want to have your mouth looked at by a certified biological dentist. They're much different than the average dentist. This is the gateway to your body, and it all starts here. So many people have had chronic issues their whole life. Like for me, I had mercury poisoning because I had an entire root canal tooth filled with the amalgam filling. Amalgam is mercury, and now it's coming out. Everybody knows it's not safe now. But underneath that tooth was a pocket of infection. So that tooth was causing me to systemically have an infection and put mercury into my body. So I encourage everyone to start to go get their mouth checked, the mouth fixed. And don't take any of this as truth. Do your own research. Everybody has their opinions and everything. I always say, go to prove myself wrong, and you're going to find your way through it, just like I did. And the second recommendation would be to get a HEPA air filter, a HEPA special, a nice air filter, a nice expensive one. Austin Healthmate is a good one. You want to sleep in your room with an air filter running because when you sleep at night, your body goes into a 50% state of your body has no defenses. All your defenses go to rest when you sleep. So when the air comes into your body, you're breathing at like a 50% um, rate. So your lungs aren't exhaling like we are during the day. So if there's even a little toxin in your bedroom, it is staying in your system. So you want your room to be clean. You want a nice filter for your bedroom. It will help your liver. It'll help your eyes. It'll help your skin. Um, and then the last thing is distilled water. Get a water distiller. I know a lot of people have heard mixed things about distilled water, but in my opinion, it is not truth. You want to get a water distiller. Do not drink it from plastic like containers. You want to get a water distiller and distill the water that you're drinking. It'll remove all chemicals, and then you can remineralize it if you want afterwards. But you want to be drinking 100% pure water.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I love the actionable steps, things that folks can immediately look into and see if it makes sense for them.
Yeah.
So this is the Deep Coach podcast. you did go through the deep coaching intensive. What does it mean for you to be a deep coach in particular? Recognizing that you are far more than that in terms of what you offer your clients, but there is an essence to the work that certainly lives in what you do.
To- totally. No matter if I have somebody come and do a program with me, 40 or 50% of the time we spend together will be um, in the deep coaching space. Um, it's it's it is it's a very unique way of learning how to coach. And when I found it, it was so awesome because it was really what I was looking for at the time. Not only to learn, you learn so much about yourself, but to be able to give that to people, just to be able to truly hear them on levels that most people haven't been trained on how to listen, and just how to provide them a true space of no judgment, no expectation, and a space for their consciousness to come out and fly, um, is just like the coolest thing. I think deep coaching is, in a way, it's energy work through conversation is really what it is. Um, of course, there is that coaching element to it, but when you go to learn it, you learn the practices, you learn how to align your energy into the space to support the other person. So it requires a person to live a certain way and to be a particular way, which is for their benefit, and then to be able to provide that for the other person is super awesome. Um, so I mean, I like it so much. I've gone through the deep coaching intense in it, and I've done the deepening course with Leon twice because I liked it so much.
Yeah,
Um, just because I enjoyed it.
incredible. What words would you use to describe who you were being prior to your awakening? So when you were in the military, and what words would you use to describe who you're being today?
Before, I would say I was loud, confused, and destructive. Now, I do my best to remember to be patient. Um, I like to be loud, but I like to be like a happy loud. But a lot of times I'm also very quiet too. Like I found that range. Um, so I would say I, I would say patient, um, happy, and yeah, I'm I would say the third word. That's interesting. Good question. There's something coming to me. Uh, um uh I would say that I really try to practice respect in my life now too. So, that was a big thing for me. The respect for my wife, for my life, for everybody that I meet. Um yeah, I would say respect was a big thing I brought in.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense from what you were sharing in terms of respecting yourself, starting to respect yourself,
Yeah, it
starting
starts with that. That's
yeah, yeah, and like respect your body, respecting what you put into it, the self-talk. The respect is such a catalyst and key word in
Mhm.
this process, certainly.
Really is.
Yeah, man. What are you most looking forward to in this sort of next stage of your life and career?
Having a child.
Yeah.
Um And in the future, I think the next stage in my professional career, using the coaching skills and everything that I've been doing, is I'm not ready to do it yet, but I know that it's coming. Is I'm gonna work with marriages. That's gonna be the that's I think that is going to be the tip of the spear for my work. Is it's gonna transition. Working with marriages is a lot of energy. um, it takes I look at it like everything that I've learned and everything the universe wants to say through me, it's marinating like a fine wine right now, or fermenting, so to speak. Um, and then when I know that it's at that point of bringing to the world, then I know that I want to help men who have cheated on their wife save their marriage. That's going to be who I work with. So I'll be able to use little bit of my experience, the deep coaching work that I have now, um, that I've learned through you guys, through Leon. I'll be able to apply. I'll be able to apply a lot of what I've done into that process with people. So I think it's something I'm looking forward to, and it's kind of writing itself in the back of my head.
Yeah. Why do you think this is such an important area for you to focus on?
I'm constantly thinking about like what how I want to what I want to do for people. It's always seemed like as I move through these different stages of my life, like that's what I can provide people. And like I just take a look at my life and I'm like, what is the greatest message that I can give to the world? Like what is the greatest thing that I can give back? What's my greatest lesson? And it's always been my marriage, you know? And it's not going to be for everybody. It's going to be for a very small group of people. But for me, my marriage was the shining light of my life, and it still is. And I think it's a way to bring uh, complete goodness down onto the planet, to raise the next generations out of love and respect, and all of that. And to be able to help somebody else do that is my way of just giving back. So for me, it's like the deepest. It's like what my soul came here to learn
Yeah.
was that, yeah, that could help with the drinking and the self destruct, the detox, all that I'm passionate about. But when it comes down to like what did you learn in lifetime, I'd be like, huh, marriage, honesty, you know, that was a big one.
And how it's ultimately all related and connected, because in order for you to have the optimal marriage, you do have to do the inner work. Your
Mhm.
partner has to also be equally committed to the inner work. And so the inner work and a successful marriage go hand in hand. So I
Yeah,
imagine that would be a lot of the topic of conversation for you and your clients
yeah,
moving forward.
definitely.
So if you could leave listeners with one invitation, so something to reflect on or practice in their own transformational journey, what would it be?
I would just say like taking care of yourself is really taking care of the world. Like no matter how busy you think you are, no matter how really confused or disconnected you think you are, it just takes a little bit of time for you to look inside and to just uh, start a momentum in the direction of taking care of yourself. And it's not being selfish. It's not being, you know, we get very focused on the physical world through imprinting, through the energy of the world. We get so focused that if we're not constantly progressing in our business or our finances or our life in some sort of linear physical way, that we are not doing something. But there's an energy inside too. And when you tap into that, it will connect into the linear space down the road. But you got to take care of yourself because every single person you love is going to have a better you.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Is there anything else that you haven't shared that would be worth sharing before we close?
Think that's about it.
Where can folks find you if they wanted to connect with you?
Um, I do have social media. I'm not on it like I used to be, but go ahead and friend me. It's just my name, Michael Vasconez. You can find me on anything. I do have a lot of YouTube videos out there. I don't make them anymore, but people still comment and find me on them. And then my website is just there for kind of like a space holder bio there. And it's just my name, michaelvasconez.com.
Beautiful. Thank you, Michael. Wonderful conversation today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us today. To learn more about today's guest, visit our podcast landing page at www.podcast.centerfortransformationalcoaching.com. You'll find links to their website, social media, and anything else they might want to share there. And if you're curious to explore more about our work, our trainings, or the deep coaching approach, you'll find everything at www.centerfortransformationalcoaching.com. A new episode of this podcast releases every 2 weeks, so please subscribe wherever you listen to stay up to date. Until next time, stay present, embrace love, and continue sensing into what life is calling you toward. See you soon.